Next slide, please. Yeah. Now I'm talking about supervised learning. So in supervised learning also there are two types. One is regression and the other one is classification. Now what do I mean by regression? When your output variable is continuous, in those cases you will be using regression. If your outputs are classes, then in that cases you will be using classification algorithms. Okay, now what do I mean by continuous and non-continuous as in my output? Let's say if I was trying to predict whether the person was having cancer or not. So in that case, your output is not continuous. Your output is discrete, right? You're trying to predict the class whether the person is having cancer or not. Yes or no kind of problem. In that cases, that is a classification problem. Or if you see that example on the left side, I'm just trying to show you the whether, let's say, based on the different inputs, age, height, weight, many different things for out inputs. Let's say I'm predicting the output as whether the person is married, bachelor, or divorced. So that's basically you're trying to predict the class, right? So that's a classification problem. In regression, you will not try to predict the class or discrete output. You will try to predict the output which is continuous. Okay. In this case, let's say based on the age or many different parameters as an input, let's say you're trying to predict the person's income. And we know that income is continuous. Okay, it's not a class. Okay, that's basically a regression problem. Okay. So your regression problem you can convert your regression problem to your classification problem. How? If I say, let's say if I'm predicting the income, which is salary, which is number in a continuous format, which you are predicting, that's a regression problem. But let's say if I create a band out of this regression, let's say if a person who is earning more than $50,000, it's in the high band. Person who is learning less than $50,000, it's in the lower band. In that case, what happens? It's basically, in that case, the regression problem is converted into a classification problem. If you are trying to predict whether the person is high earning range or low earning range. Okay. So of course you can convert your regression problem into a classification problem by this. But then both has its own significance. It depends what is your output. So you have to understand, first you have to understand what kind of data you have, what kind of output which you're trying to predict, and based on that you have to apply the algorithm. In regression, we know what different algorithms we have. If you see on the right side, the image also shows a linear regressioning, right? If you see the line, that's a linear line, right? And we have already learned linear regression in our school, in our college days as well. So let's get into the next slide. So in linear regressions, you know there's you will be having a linear equation. Let's say y equal to, let's say if you have only one input, okay? Let's say you have the area of the apartment, area of the flat, and based on that area in square feet, let's say you're predicting the price of a flat. In that case, your equation would be y is equal to a naught plus a1x, which is mx plus c from your school days, right? M would be a slope and c would be y-intercept. Now, let's say if you're predicting the price of a flat based on the area, based on the number of bedrooms, based on the location, in that case, you'll be having multiple inputs, multiple x. That's where you'll be having the equation something like this. Y is equal to a naught plus a1 x1 plus a2 x2 plus a3 x3. And we know that a is basically A's are coefficients and intercept basically. Okay, so that's how we actually can understand the equation from our school days. Also, we can understand if you have more variables, you will have more x. For every x, for every input, there will be a coefficient associated with it, right? Makes sense. So x are basically independent variables, y are dependent variables, and I think this a naught which I've written, I think by mistake I've written this as b while denoting that as a y-intercept. So it should be a naught. Okay, so a naught is y-intercept. Cool. And you know that in real life, all the data points will not be lying on a straight line. That's not how our life is so simple, right? So the data point will be scattered. And if you feel that there is a linear relationship in your data points, that let's say if your price is increasing, the price of a flat is generally increases with the area, right? You never see that if the area is, let's say, if you're buying a flat of 1,000 square feet, if the price is, let's say, 50L, and when you go in the same location or maybe in the same building, if you're looking for another flat with 1,500 square feet, the price will not generally go down, it will go up, right? So in that case, maybe let's say that if you are having a linear increasing trend, then you know that you can actually implement linear regression on through that. But of course, the data points will not be exactly lying on this straight line. You have to live with some error when you do some predictions. And how we can actually determine how well is our model? So basically, to make sure how well is our model is basically to make sure that the data points are very near to our straight line. So in a way, we have to come up with this straight line, which is also called as best fit line. It should be in such a way that it actually have the least error. So you must be thinking, why is this line only like this? It can be have another line with some other slope, right? But the line which is an optimized line is only when you have the least error, that is called as a best fit line. If you can remember from your college days when you have learned this linear regression in your past. And when you have a best fit line, your R square will be near to 1. And if your data points are very near to your best fit line, that means your model is working good with respect to the current data points, then your R square will be nearer to 1. And that's when you say that you can use this model for production and you can do the predictions. But if your R square value is, let's say, 0.5 or near to 0, that means the best fit line is not good enough to do the predictions for the current data. In that case, you cannot use this model for your predictions. Your customers will be not happy. In fact, they'll be actually, literally, they will be like, man, your model is not working fine. I'm not really happy. I cannot continue with your organization. In that case, we'll be losing the profits. We'll be losing the revenues. Okay. So that's basically every model has to be having some evaluation parameter, right? In linear regression, we will be having R square, which is called as coefficient of determination. Nearer to 1, better the model. Near to 0, model is not doing good enough. Okay, let's get into the next slide. Logistic regression is also very similar to linear regression. Though the name has regression in its word, logistic regression, but it is generally used for classification. I just wanted to show you one algorithm for regression and one algorithm for classification, and that's where I'm using logistic regression here. Okay. So what happens, let's say you have some variable, let's say age. Let's say you have only one variable as an input, age. And the output is whether the person is married, yes or no. Okay, or whether the person is married or bachelor. In that case, I'm just taking the output as 2 classes. So that's a binary classification problem. If I take the outputs as married, bachelor, and divorcee or divorced, then in that case, it's a multi-class problem. But for simplicity, let's stick to binary classification, and I'm only taking one variable, let's say. Then the equation would be y is equal to a0 plus a1 x1. But you must be thinking that this equation is very similar to linear regression, right? But here, what we generally do, the output of this linear equation will be incorporated to another equation, which is 1 by 1 plus e power this. So basically, this output y is actually replaced in this another equation. And this p, if you notice, if you can just analyze, this p will always be lying between 0 to 1. So basically, this would be a probability value. Okay. And if this probability value, when you solve the equations, and if this p value is greater than 0.5, then the probability of that particular person with some age, lying, would be classified in this class 1. Let's say our class 1 is person is married and class 0 is person is bachelor. Then let's say the probability if from this equation, if the p-value is probability value is greater than 0.5, then the person would be classified or predicted as married. If the probability is less than 0.5, then the person would be predicted as bachelor. Okay. So basically what I'm trying to explain is, let's say if you have a tabular data with age and whether the person is married or bachelor of historical data. Now, whenever there is a new person with some age, you can predict whether the person is married or bachelor. Now you must be thinking, this is so simple problem. You can look into the data itself based on the age. Let's say if age, the threshold value of age is, let's say, 25 years, and beyond 25 years your data is most of the times seeing that the person is married, and below 25 years the person is bachelor, then why do we need model? But in real life the data will not be that simple. You will be having many things, age, and then in which company that person is working. Based on that also we'll understand, right, whether the person is married or not. Sometimes it happens that the person marries early in their life just because they might have got a very good opportunity in an organization, so he or she might be willing to marry early. Okay, so based on different criteria people get married, so I'm not getting into that, but I'm just trying to give you an example. Seems like my voice seems to be changed. Just give me a second. Okay, so that's how the logistic regression can actually classify and then can actually predict the output, or basically the output class. Similarly, I'm just given an example with respect to whether the person is married or not married. Similarly, you can think of images. If you have the images, you want to classify whether the image is car and bicycle, you can think of logistic regression as an algorithm which can actually classify that. But remember, when it comes to images or text, which is unstructured data, your logistic regression is basically a type of machine learning algorithm and might not be performing so well with unstructured data, which is text and images. I'm not getting into the technicalities why, but maybe for now you can just, but yes, you can use, if you want to, you can use any algorithm, any classification algorithm on images also. But then most of the time we have noticed that neural networks works better, basically deep learning works better with respect to unstructured data. Okay, let's get into the next slide. I've taken this example, so maybe you can skip this. You might have already seen this. Yeah, can we just go to the previous slide once again? Sorry, Venkatesh. If you notice this, if the data which I'm showing is very simple, and you must be thinking that the person below 28 years is not married, person above 28 years is married. But then this is a very simple data, and you don't need machine learning for this kind of problems. You can use if-else loops. You can use if-else with maybe for loops for every record, and then you can solve the problem. So, but in real life, this is not how the data would be. You cannot easily identify the trends with if-else. Sometimes you would need machine learning. So the model, the algorithm will learn from the data, and then it will predict the future. Okay, let's go into the next slide. Maybe this would be the last slide. Happy moment for all of you. I will not take much time now. So this is a deep learning example. So if you notice on the extreme left, you have x1, x2. Let's say you have two inputs. Okay, and in your outputs, you are predicting the last output which you are seeing in terms of animation on the right side in the square, the extreme right, the bigger square. You are basically seeing the output. Okay, let's say you're trying to solve this problem of whether the person is having a cancer or not. So let's say the blue dots are basically cancer patients and orange dots are not cancer patients. And the color, the zone which we are making is basically we are trying to do the prediction with respect to the zones. So basically all the blue color dots should be in blue zone. all the orange colored dots should be in orange zone. Okay. And if you notice, just above this animation, there is one more animation on graph. If you notice, the loss, as the loss is decreasing, if you notice, this animation is getting started again and again. So maybe you can just give you some time. Just try to analyze as the loss is decreasing. Loss decreasing means error is decreasing. As the error decreases, you will notice that the blue dots are completely occupied by blue zone, which is our prediction. Let's say the blue dots are actual and the blue zone is predictions. And then you will notice that initially this zone might not be good, but when the loss is decreased and the losses are converged, then you will notice that this blue zone is only containing blue dots and orange zone is containing orange dots. So I think this will help you to understand what machine learning is, deep learning, what machine learning and deep learning are doing basically. But then when I talk about machine learning, you will just have X1 and X2 and this right side, the animation which I'm showing you. And when we talk about deep learning, you will be having hidden layers. So basically, the one which I'm showing with 5 neurons, let's say, the 5 small boxes are called as neurons. And then this would be of 5 intermediate outputs. And then there will be another output with 2 neurons. And then there will be a final output. So this is deep learning when you have intermediate outputs. And when you don't, that's basically a machine learning. In very simple language or in a layman terms, if I want to tell what is machine learning and deep learning. But then when you have more number of intermediate outputs or maybe more number of hidden layers, of course, most of the time with gigabytes of data or terabytes of data, we have noticed that deep learning performs better than machine learning. If you remember the previous graph in one of the slides where I've shown you that as the data is more, deep learning outperforms machine learning. Okay, so I wanted to explain this many stuff, but I feel that I've touched the surface of data science so that you can understand what we are trying to do. Okay. Yes. So as Siddesh also mentioned, deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Yes. Okay. So I think now the questions time maybe.